Okay, I want to get started in today's training related to your federal sales pipeline and hitting your goals in 2024. And I just wanted to begin with this idea or an understanding that sales and revenue goals, that's what I'm going to talk about a fair amount today. But these are leading indicators of the success your company is having. Lagging indicators of the success your company is having. And what it means is that they're at the very end. When you see them, whether they're good sales numbers and revenue numbers or whether they're poor, it's too late for you to really do anything besides set a new goal for the following year. So they're not really helpful to you. Once you set them, those aren't the things you should really be tracking, right? You want to be tracking earlier signals or leading indicators to your success. And an example of those are opportunities and proposals. And so when you think about the strength of your pipeline, when you think about trying to hit your goals in 2024, understand the difference between lagging and leading indicators. Of course, you need to set goals that are out there. And this is what we're going to talk about, like revenue. But really what you want to pay attention to is, are we doing the right things, right? Sales is about the right activity out there and making sure you're doing enough of the right activity. I like to say doing the right thing the right way and enough of the right things, right? And when you do that, then you're really tracking towards your success. So let me just give you a quick overview of what we're going to be talking about today in the next 25 minutes. I really want to cover down your sales pipeline planning, and that begins by looking at those lagging indicators of sales and revenue goals. But I want to talk to you about it from a dollars and ratio standpoint. I'm not here to talk to you conceptually. I'm not even here to teach you. I'm here to guide you into walking away from today's session to do your own planning for 24 and 25 if you haven't done it already. Literally, I want to give you a set of tasks that could take you one day or less, and perhaps even an hour or less if you've really already been thinking about this and you just need to cover down. So I'm going to talk about goals from a high level. I'm going to give you an overview of the goals I want to cover. And then I'm going to dive into each one of these goals. Revenue goals, FTE goals are really important. Those are employee goals, full-time equivalent. Sales goals, and then other goals that are related to the numbers goals, but they're not actually dollars, right? And then I want to give you this table. I want to walk you through this table of literally looking at these goals lined out. So when you're done, you can just do a screenshot, scratch out one part, and put your numbers in. And by the end of the day, today, you can have a really good understanding of what you're trying to achieve. If you don't know who I am, my name is Neil McDonald. I'm the president of the GovCon Chamber of Commerce, and I want to welcome you to my federal sales training, where I provide tips for success in the federal market. I spent 20 years in the federal market as a small business owner, and since 2018, I've been teaching people like you that government contracting is not a secret. It's just a process. When we follow a process A to Z, we have repeatable, predictable results. That's what I want for you, and I know that's what you want for your company, and that's why I'm here. Do me a favor, if you haven't done so already, put your core competency and your company name into the chat. 2 or 3 words that just say, hey, this is what we sell, in your company name. Let other people know about this. Since the beginning of January 1st, we've had an average of 100 people daily live coming into these trainings. And that's a great way for you to build your network. And one of the easiest ways is for them to see what you sell and go, oh, hey, we should talk. If you haven't already done so, subscribe to the Government Contracting Success newsletter that I have. Just get out there. We put a lot of good stuff in there. It's a place where when I share stuff in other places, I can bring it back and let you know. But it's also where I'll let you know about next week's training. There's currently a newsletter article in there that talks about the training the rest of this week, like Thursday and Friday, right? And so speaking of that, if you registered for our training, thank you. If you haven't, make sure you register for the training. Come in, click on the I'm attending or registration button, and let LinkedIn let me know that you're coming to the training. It's a perfect way to help us. It's an easy thank you to me, but it also allows LinkedIn to send you reminders and let other people know about the training. And speaking of letting other people know, if you like the training, if you're back the second time, the third time, the fourth time, don't come back alone. Bring a friend. Okay, let's dive into the meat of today's training. I want to begin with an overview of just some of the goals I'm going to be talking about, but really the goals I focus on when I'm looking at a business from a high level, right? I often feel companies spend way too much time trying to create a strategy or a plan for their business, and it really isn't that hard. If you were at this stage in 2023, then you want to go here in 2024, and it's not that hard to predict where you want to go in 2025. It doesn't require some sophisticated analysis and massive calculations in a spreadsheet, et cetera. It just needs to go, we were at $1 million, I want to go to 2 million. We were at 10 million, I want to go to 12 or 15 million, right? That kind of thing. We're about to graduate, we're at 50 million. 65 million is a good next step forward or something. That kind of thing. It's not rocket science. It really is literally just based on your experience. But the government, the federal market can cover down on any goal. I'm not saying it's easy, right? You got to do the hard work, but setting those goals shouldn't be part of the hard work. So the first goal is revenue goals you want to set, right? You want to think about how much money do I want to make? Like I said, if it was $1 million last year, it's $2 million this year, right? It was 5 million, maybe you're trying to go to 8 or even 10 million this year. There's a balance in there. So how much money do you want to make in 24 and in years out? So FTE is a different way of looking at money, and I'll break this down in a minute. But basically, how many people do I want working on my team in our company for 2024? You want to ask yourself these questions. And then sales goals. So if revenue goals are how much money do we really want to get? Do we get, right? That's money recognized to me, and I'll expand on that in a minute. But sales goals are how much do I need to win? And me, I 100% believe that contracts are won. They're not awarded or any of this other stuff. If you're a salesperson and you do all the hard work, especially if you do 6 to 24 months, you're winning that contract. You're not being awarded. It's not on the good, the goodness of the contract officer. It's on your effort. It's because you and your colleagues work so hard to get it. Call it a win. Don't call it an award. Let the government call it an award. And then the last one is other goals. These are non-dollar goals that you need to put in place that drive towards the overall revenue goals you're trying to go towards, and also towards the growth and maturity your organization has defined it wants to achieve in 24 and years out. So from a high level, that's the goals we're going to talk about. So let's just talk about revenue goals for a minute. There's two type of ways of looking at annual revenue goals. And I've got them laid out here, right? Annual revenue target and annual monthly recurring revenue target. These are my terms. I'm not trying to be a CPA. I'm a business owner. I've been a business owner for 20 plus years. I speak in ways that are quick and easy for me to understand. For example, I don't care about all that EBITDA language. I care about how much is the net profit that goes into the bank at the end of the day, because it either goes home with me or it allows me to build a stronger company. That's what I care about. Everything else is necessary, but it's not really why I'm in business. I'm not in business to pay attention to the middle. I'm in business to pay attention to the bottom and what I can do in my community, in my company, in my home, right? And theoretically, that's what we're all in business for. So an annual revenue target, and this is the reason I really wanted to tell you about this, is because when you look out into 2024, I want you to set a goal that you feel like you're always progressing towards it, not that you're always failing or man, we're never going to get to that goal, right? It's one thing to set a destination and feel like you're getting closer to it. It's another to set a destination and feel like no matter what you do, it's still really far away. When I was in the Army, we used to do these long desert marches, and you'd see a mountain, and that was our target. We start going towards it, and at some point, you'd find this valley, and you'd have to go down, and you realize you're going down, there's all this extra distance. You come up, the mountain's still the same distance away. Really depressing on trying to achieve your goals, right? And so for us, it's the same thing with annual revenue targets. That's what you're reporting to the IRS. You're saying at the end of 2024, I want to report to the IRS I made $5 million. That is what I mean by an annual revenue target. That's how much revenue we're going to bring in, not book or any of this other stuff, but it's in the bank. That's that number. And the reason it's important from a sales perspective is that from the very minute I set that $5 million goal, I'm behind. Because first off, I should have set that goal in 2022 or 2023 at the latest for my 2024 revenue goals. But if I didn't already have all the sales won back in 23 that are going to give me my revenue that I want in 2024, then right from the beginning, I feel like January through March are lost. Because even if I win a contract at the beginning of January, there's a kickoff meeting, and then a month before maybe it gets started, and then I have to work a month at least before I can start billing. So the reality is money won't start flowing in on anything new for generally like 3 months, and sometimes it can be even longer. And it's the same thing at the end. Any new revenue you're bringing in, or sales and revenue, in November and December, that's not really going to count, because in 2024, that money's going into 2025. And I'm not here again to talk about cash and accrual methods. I'm just saying it's not in your pocket, right? And so November, December, when you do that work, you're billing it in 2025. And that's why I don't like it, right? From the beginning, if I set a hard number, like we need to make $5 million in 2024, and we had made 2 before, like in 2023, we had made 2 million. The minute I set that goal, we're feeling behind. We haven't had enough sales. We don't have enough money in our opportunities in our pipeline, et cetera. All this activity, and every single month, no matter what we do, we still feel behind. Compare that though to an annual monthly recurring revenue target. This MMR or MRR way of looking at something is really just saying, if I want to look at a $5 million goal, and actually I use a number farther down, but I'm going to make this up. But let's say a $5 million goal, basically it means I need to be billing $600,000 a month. If I do that right, 600 times 12, no, that's too high. You do the math, but you understand what I'm saying. If you set a $5 million goal and you want to look at it from a monthly recurring revenue, basically you're dividing 12 into 5. So I feel like that's 60K, but my math is out. But anyways, the point is you're saying not that you want to have $5 million in your bank at the end of the year. What you're saying is by December, I want to be at a $5 million run rate. I want to be bringing in, let's say 60,000 times 12. I think my math is off. That's like 720. Actually, I'm looking in the chat and see if somebody put that math in there because it's driving me nuts. But my point is, you want to sit there and be looking at that monthly recurring revenue, right? You never feel behind. If you see the thermometer, if you're looking at my screen, I have this thermometer and it represents the fundraising activities that are done at a church or a bank or something in a local community. We're trying to raise $100,000 or $1 million. That thermometer is just showing everybody we're making continuous progress. No one is being shown what we're missing. Only people are being shown is that red line going up on the thermometer. It's like we're making progress towards it. And so every sale you win, or every contract you win, it's contributing to that factor. Every person you put on your team who's able to be billable and do that work for the customer is increasing the amount of money you're bringing in every month. And so that's the number I really want you to be paying attention to. A monthly recurring revenue, typically it's services, but it absolutely can be products and construction. You just take how much money do you want to be billing out, in a year, and you just take it up and say, hey, every month I want to be doing this much construction work, this much product sales. It's the same activity, just how much sales do we want to be making? How many invoices do we want to be sending out every month, basically? And then you can set this, and you should set this. This is really important. You should set a revenue goal for 24 and 25. This is why 2024, theoretically, a lot of your revenue, what you're going to achieve in your revenue should have been won in 2023. It's not the end of the world. I'll talk about how you can hit revenue goals even if you didn't make sales before. But the idea is today's the last day you stop looking at only this year and you start looking at least 1 year out, because the sales activities you do in 24 will secure your revenue goals for 2025. If you do additional sales later in 2025 that are recognized in 25, those are bonuses. But you want to set a goal for 2025, a revenue goal. Let's say it's 15 million, right? And you're going from 8 to 10 to 15 or something. That $15 million goal, you want to be looking at it for sales in this year. And that's what we're going to talk about now, or in a minute. So I talked about the revenue goals. One thing is really important to think about, well, who's going to be doing that work? So if I've got a company that's trying to do $6 million more in business in 2024, so billing out at whatever that is in, let's say it's $500,000 more a month, they need to be adding 50 people to their team. So I use this example right here, that if you're trying to add $1 million to your revenue, then you need to have 10 full-time equivalents, so 10 employees billing out at $50 an hour. I don't know if you know this, but if you want to do quick math, take the hourly rate of someone, double it, and that's their revenue. So if you look at your company and say, what's the average hourly rate for our company? $50. Then that means we need 10 people in order to achieve that $1 million goal. The reason this is really good is because it's a conservative number. If you get higher rates, more revenue, then you're just exceeding your goal. But for your company, we want to add 10 full-time equivalents. You're not just focused on this magical $1 million number, right? Now you're saying, hey, we want 10 people. Well, where are those people coming from? Where are they going to go work? And it allows you to take an FTE goal, and later on as you're doing your planning is to break it down into the customers you have or the relationships you have, whether it's going to be priming, subbing, etc. Again, you want to set a goal like this for 24 and 25. Okay, so I was talking about sales goal. If you have a revenue goal and you put it out there, you need a matching sales goal. So the sales goal is how much are we going to win in 2024? It really has nothing to do with revenue just yet, right? It's a standalone goal saying I want to win this much in total contract value, right? If we happen to bill it in 24, 25, whatever, that's separate, but we want to win that much money. And for this training, I'm basing it off of service-based companies where we typically get a 5-year contract, right? A service-based contract might have a base plus 4 option years. And so that's that period of performance you're looking at. Sometimes it'll be less, but for today, let's be more conservative. This conservativeness of saying I want to win 5 million, a 5-year period of performance. It means if we win smaller periods, that's just handy. But I'm working for the hard. I'm trying to work for the hard goals first and be very conservative. That way, I never miss my number. So right here, when I talk about sales goals, again, I said take your revenue goal. On that third bullet, take your revenue goal and multiply it by a 5-year period of performance. And that's how you get your sales goal. For this period, and I'm going to walk you through the numbers, like literally a whole table full of numbers so you can see all this stuff I'm talking about. But one of the things that's different between revenue and sales is for 2024, you're setting a revenue goal for at least 2024 and 2025. You need that in your head so you know where you're going, right? And for sales goals, you only need it for 2024 because you're not really trying to set what your sales goals are in 2025. You can get to that later, towards the end of this year. But those sales goals in 2024 will cover down on some of the revenue for 24 and certainly the 25 revenue. One last thing about sales goals it's important to remember is that there are 3 revenue streams. If you're just starting out, you only subcontract under small businesses, is my recommendation to you. Don't waste your time trying to prime contract or go to larges. You're not ready for it. You can spin your wheels like the rest of us for years before you finally come back and sub, or you can subcontract right now and you'll start getting revenue that allows you to build your company. But if you're further along, let's say you're a $5 million plus company, you absolutely should be looking at making money or setting sales goals that are subcontracting sales goals, prime contracting sales goals, and subcontracting into a large business sales goals. And what this means is, let's say you set a $5 million sales goal, then you might sit there and say, look, I want to get 1 million subbing under smalls, 1 million or 2 million subbing under larges, and 2 million prime contracts. You can break it up any way you want, but you take that 5 million or that total revenue goal and you break it on these 3 revenue streams. That way you have a plan going out so that you're touching in each one of these revenue streams. And I have all sorts of training around that. And then the last goal thing that I wanted to say before I move into the table is you have these other goals that are going to be part of your plan and that touch on your sales plan for 2024 or every year that you're going into, right? And the idea of these goals, though, the only ones I really care about are the ones that support the revenue and sales goals. An example is you might want to get ISO, and that's a very important goal for your company and it's part of your strategic plan, but it's really not part of the sales goal, right? People can rationalize how we can win more if we had it, but that's rationalization. You don't need that goal to win, but there are some other things you do need to determine. So an example is with a customer of mine, they're an 8A small business, right? And so for 2024, their sales goal is also broken out on how much 8A dollars do we want? So 8A direct award or 8A set aside. So how much 8A dollars do we want and how much non-8A dollars do we want? It's important for them to determine this. And if you're an 8A, it's the same thing. You need to make sure you're determining that because you do have this requirement as you move forward to make sure you've got a diversity of those contracts. And the other thing is for them, they're setting a goal around their sales goal for the agencies they're going into. Don't just sell everywhere in the federal government, narrow down. For these guys specifically, they're looking at Department of Commerce as an example because they're in there, but they're also looking at the Army because they're an 8A small business. They're not in the Army yet, but the Army spent $2 billion, so they spend on average $2 billion with 8A small businesses every year. So it makes sense for this company to get in and see how they can develop that customer. So they're not in there at the moment. Part of their sales goal is to say, we want to get into these agencies. Those 3 revenue streams, the agency target, the 8A, non-8A dollars. When you're thinking about your sales goals, think about it from those different angles. Okay, so I got about 8 minutes. Really, I got more like 5 minutes. And I want to go through taking those goals that I just talked about and breaking them down into what do they look like on a slide, on a chart. And so here, you can see I got 3 different columns that I'm focused on. What is the goal I'm talking about? What are the numbers I'm trying to set? And then what notes are in there that you need to pay attention to, or ratios if there are some. As we go forward, you look at it really quick, but then I ask you to stick with the column I'm on, or excuse me, the row I'm on, so it makes sense. So the first goal for us, our company, we're the first thing for us to pay attention to is on row one here, revenue 2023 is where did we end 2023? Let's talk about the reality. So let's just say my company did $7 million in 2023. That means at that monthly recurring revenue that I talked about, we're now at a $7 million run rate because we're bringing in about $583,000 a month. $583,000 a month is basically $7 million a year. And so we want to know our actual number, and that makes it easy for us to then determine our 2024 revenue goal. Hey, if we did 7 million last year, 10 million is not an unrealistic goal. Let's set our goal at $10 million, right? In here, now we have a new monthly recurring revenue target goal. And so this is 834,000. We're telling ourselves we want to go from $583,000 a month to $834,000 a month. And when we get to that stage, $834,000 billable a month, then we're at a $10 million company. We're a run rate, annual run rate, right? And the idea is I'm not looking at the 10 million anymore. I'm looking at that 834 and going, what will it take to get to the 834? I don't need to get to it in January. I can get to it a little bit every single month, and I'm moving towards it. I will see myself go from 583,000 to 600,000 to 650,000, right? And then maybe 650,000, 650,000, 650,000. And boom, we jump up to 750,000 because we got another sale and we're moving forward. But the idea is that thermometer, we're always moving forward when we have that number. And over on the right-hand side, I said MRR by December 24. My goal is that I want to be at 834,000 a month, monthly recurring revenue by the end of 2024. I don't want to get $10 million, right? That'd be nice, but that's not what I'm really aiming for. I'm trying to build a $10 million company. And if I'm billing out 834,000 a month, I'm a $10 million company. I'm certainly going into 2025 at that level. And then the same thing with the third column here of numbers, right, is the revenue for 2025. I look at it and go, look, I want to go up a little bit in 24, and then 25, I'm going to try for a 50% bump because I think we can play at a larger level. So I'm going to go from 10 to 15 million. And that means I need to be at $1.25 million monthly recurring revenue. And I have to think about where's that at? Again, on this goal, it's not to make $15 million that I report to the IRS at the end of 2025. It's to be at that stage in December 2025 where I have $1.25 million billable or invoices that are going out. So those first goals, those first three are the revenue goals, understanding where I'm at and understanding the next 2 years. As I look out into 2024 and I have set that $10 million goal, or I have set that the 2025 goal, I need to figure out what will it take me to get to $834,000 a month? What will it take for me to get to 1.25 million a month? And really down here, I just divided it, and I'll show you in a second. I divided it by $50 an hour. That average billable rate gives me $100,000 per person. So basically I need 100 people to get 10 million. And this is easy math for me, right? And 150 people to get to 15 million. This is all doable, right? Hard work. I never want to pretend like government contractor or business is easy. It takes time, but as you look at the numbers, if you set an FTE goal, you almost have a thermometer just for that. How many people do we have in our team? We're excited. Our team keeps growing. We've got this goal at the top here of 150 people, and we're just on track for it. In fact, I might even build a thermometer that's got a midpoint for 2024, and then that final point up there, and we can see ourselves going towards that. Sometimes we might even be accelerating into 2025's goal in 2024. It's so much easier when you're able to visualize what does it take. So bringing out of the revenue goals and FTE goals, what does that mean for winning, for sales, right? These are contracts that are awarded to your company. And what I'm suggesting is that you need to pick up $40 million in order to get that 10 million. I'm only focused on the revenue for 2024, right? Or that sales goal. And the idea is this is a 5-year pop. I'm focused on the 2025 revenue goal. How do I get the $5 million for 2025? How do I get it in 2024? Well, I need $5 million more in 2025. When you multiply that by a 5-year period of performance, 5 times 5 is 25. You really start going forward. I've added in the 3 million from the 2023 to 24. So that's about 8 million that we're trying to do. I multiply it by 5 and it equals 40 million. A little complicated on the explanation, but if you fill it out, it begins to make sense. But I'm setting my goal saying I need to bring in 40 million in 2024. If I win 40 million, then I'm going to gain $8 million more in revenue going forward per year. Okay, and then proposal value, same thing backing up. You can watch a whole separate training I do, but basically I say you should be winning at least 25%. 30% is phenomenal. I don't believe anybody can really do once you start going after real stuff, 1 out of every 3 is awesome. And so what you're looking for, if you want to win a contract, generally you need to submit 4 times the value and 4 times the number of contracts in proposals. So you want to send out, in this case, if you want to pick up 40 million in sales, you need to send out 160 million in total contract value in your proposals. And what I say is this 40, and this gets a little complicated math here, but basically the proposal value of 160 million divided by 4 million, which is the average sales side up here, then you want to be sending out 40 proposals. You got to roll with this. I've got a whole nother training that just spends 30 minutes going into that one number, but dive into it. And then the last part is your pipeline. Same thing with your pipeline, right? If you look at your pipeline, 1 out of every 3 opportunities in your pipeline should move forward to a proposal that you can write. And so you need 3 times the proposal value. You need 3 times the number of proposals in your pipeline in order to get them written to the government, in order to have a chance to win that money. So I just want to track the time. I know we're done. I just want you to pay attention today. If you did nothing else, I know the numbers are kind of big, but go look at your company and say, what's my revenue goals? What's my FTE goals? And what's my sales goals? When you have them in place, they will start driving all of your other activity. I'll talk to you soon. Make sure you go check out the other training. And remember, government contracting, it's not a secret. It's just a process.